Hey! Broadcast. I haven't done an outdoors broadcast for a long time. And here we are at Thurleston Air Gun and Archery Centre.
I love being here, Tom, it's great.
Isn't it? Looking across the Leicestershire countryside and the rolling fields of the United Kingdom. And we thought we'd talk to you about DMRs. I've just been helping Gadge out with a video for the EVO Owners Club event.
Much appreciated. Thanks for having me back on the show, Tom.
Yeah, pretty lovely to have you here. And he's bought in a EVO DMR.
Yeah, by JD Airsoft. Yeah.
This isn't a DMR, but I'm going to use it to illustrate a point a bit more. We wait for the Air Force to go flying over.
So, Tom, we're using the term DMR, which stands for
Designated Marksman Rifle.
Right. So you'd have thought that would be a sniper rifle, wouldn't you? Normally?
No, it's a bit different. So it's kind of slightly long and vaguely complicated history. But what's happened is, certainly in recent years, when they've been fighting in the Middle East and Afghan and Iraq and everything else, most infantry weapons, so like your standard M4A1 carbine or your L85, otherwise known as the SA80, fire quite a short, small cartridge, which is an intermediate cartridge, this is an inert one. Don't panic. Which is actually really quite small, and it's only 5.56, and it's only really effective out to about 300 metres. You can push its leg. You can push it.
I think in the reserves, if we fired 8 of us at one thing, we could hit 600 metres.
Okay,
so you'd have to put a lot of fire down to get there.
Okay, and we've kind of almost seen that with our maximum range today, shooting the DMRs. So these really don't have a massive amount of legs. But what's been happening is they've been shot back at, if I can find it, by a lot of guys firing very, very. This is like the oldest service cartridge in the world still used, and that's 7.62 by 54 R is for rimmed Soviet, out of even Moisens, Dragunovs, so SVDs, PKMs, and they're shooting back at NATO guys using 5.56. I'll give some close-ups in a minute.
There's a lot more propellant in there, isn't there? Yeah.
This is a lot bigger, a lot heavier. It's actually going slightly slower, but there's so much energy behind this that it just goes for a lot longer. So they call it overmatch. Yeah. So they're being overmatched by this.
That 300-yard gap, isn't it?
Which is enormous in capabilities.
Yeah. I mean, it takes you a while to run 300 yards to try and close that distance, especially if you're in kit. Yeah,
and what's happened a lot of armies have got rid of their, let me find it, 308. So this is 7.62. No, that's not. Don't worry about it. I'll find it in a minute. 7.62. 7.62 by 54. 50.
So that's the same sort of round you have in the SLR, right?
So this is the SLR, GPMG, the old M14, things along those lines. And this was used in machine guns. Now a lot of those machine guns got moved out at squad level, and things like Minimes.
Support companies and stuff.
And like Saws and Minimes came in, and they just don't, again, they put down a load of volume of fire with that little 5.56 round, but they don't have the...
But I think the logic there was that everybody carried the same type of bullet. So if you needed more ammo for your enemy, you could, at a pinch, take the ammo off guy with the LSW or the SA80.
But in this case, again, so much overmatch between the two rounds that they're really... So what they're starting to do is putting in designated marksman rifles, firing great big full-power rifle cartridges back into the squad level. So British are using sharpshooter. The Americans are using SR25 variants of the M110.
Is that one guy per section? Or?
Generally one guy per 8-man section. And they can have longer range, precision fire out to a point target, not like firing a whole section and trying to...
So they can suppress that shooter while the other guys move on?
Yeah, or they can take them out and take out machine gun teams, take out mortar teams, take out RPG teams.
And these are semi-automatic 7.62
I think some of them have full auto capability, but they're never used in that capability. Yeah. But they give them full auto just in case they have to do room clearing with the rest of their squad. So
they can get out to the 800 metre point, can't they?
Yeah. Now so that's the kind of the history of the recent history. The Soviets have been doing this for ages with the SVD.
Yeah. Very much the first DMR, because the role of the SVD was to pin down key targets like machine gunners, radio officers, while the rest of the section advanced. Yeah.
So NATO caught up 40 years later, and they've started to do it. Now we come to that's real DMRs.
In Airsoft, it seems to be everybody wants to be a sniper or a DMR, so they've got that extra range, don't they?
So in UK legal terms, with UK power levels, it may be different if you're from another country. We tend to have our power levels for our DMRs at around 1.6 joules, which is about 400, 420 FPS on a 0.2 gram BB. Different sites vary. So some will have 400, some will have 370, some will have 450.
It's best check with your first sight before you get your DMR build.
If you're going to build an expensive DMR, really check in with the sites you're likely to play at. They are limited to semi-auto. That's 1 for gameplay reasons, and 2 for legal reasons. If you go over 372,
doesn't it become some sort of air weapon?
It then becomes a Section 5 firearm.
Yeah, oh wow, okay. You don't want that. Yeah,
really bad news. Now, this hasn't been tested in court yet, but you don't want to be the test case.
Like all of those airsoft laws, they're very nebulous because no one's been daft enough to break them yet.
And some of them are going to be decided by a judge, but you don't want the judge to decide on you.
So you say we're limited in power, but I know in some games we're also limited to how many you can have in the game. So in milsims, you only allowed 1 per section of the
It depends. A lot of milsims, don't like too many because they're running a lot of ammo limits.
Yeah.
So once you've got too many DMRs, movement becomes really difficult. Because as we found today, you're looking at, you can put shots out to 80, 85 metres with this, compared to a normal gun which is doing 55. So again, you've got overmatch, so in that respect, it's quite realistic. You've got pretty much got the same levels of overmatch you would do in airsoft that you would do in real life. So one thing is, absolutely, you need to check before and a lot of sites will also, even just skirmish sites, will want to limit the amount of DMRs they have running on any day anyway. So it's worth checking.
It swings the balance of play too much.
It does. It's worth checking when you book in.
Now, what's also interesting, Tom, and I think we touched on this earlier off camera, is that this is an EVO DMR, but in real world terms, a 9mm DMR, that's not going to go to that 800 metre. The best will in the world.
So this is pistol caliber. So it's basically the real EVO is a submachine gun or pistol caliber carbine. It fires a 9mm Luger or 9mm Parabellum round, which is right here. Let's put that down for you. So that's the round. Now the range of that really 100 metres. Yeah. And you'd be lucky to hit it 50.
Yeah. And it's not going to have much stopping power when it gets there. So while this works in game terms as a DMR, you probably wouldn't be able to get away with it at some milsims who insist that you use a real world DMR.
So that's a 5.56 Gadge.
Yep.
And that's your 7.62.
Okay, you can just see it's a huge difference.
So there's an enormous difference between the three. So because milsims are very much based on realism, and we're not saying all milsims, so again you need to check with your milsim person. A lot of milsims will want you to have a 7.62
receiver.
Receiver or replica, based off a gun. So it's a replica of a gun that shoots 7.62 or higher. Okay. Some will also let you have a very accurized 5.56. So this is why I brought this along. This is my Ergi replica of a receiver group, dash improved. Some milsims will let you use something like this, which has got a big scope, has a bipod, has a big barrel. They won't let you use like a little M4 carbine or a little Mark 18.
It is a boner convention when someone's got a stubby M4 and they put a scope and a bipod on it, so and a drum mag, and go, well, I've got an LMG or I've got.
So there's a difference between what a DMR is in terms of UK legal sites
for gaming purposes,
and what a DMR is in terms of the real world and how realistic the game you want to play is. So if you're playing a really realistic game with milsims and ammo limits and limits on how much BBs you have in your magazines, it's likely the organisers have also put a limit on what you can actually use. So although this looks like a sniper DMR rifle, in a lot of milsims I couldn't use this because it's a 5.56 replica.
So Tom, if I've got a DMR, I can just use it like a normal AG, yeah?
No, unfortunately, fortunately for the person you're shooting at, you also have a minimum engagement distance just like a sniper. Okay. Because these are reaching quite high dual levels.
It's going to sting close up.
It's going to sting when it's close up. So again, you'll have to check with your site or your milsim operator or your battle sim operator as to what minimum engagement distance they're using.
So a backup's going to be pretty much essential if you go to the DMR.
So it's going to be at least 20 to 30 metres, depending on what site, and you're going to have, and most of them also, as you say, want you to carry a lower powered backup, either a pistol or a tiny little short submachine gun type thing.
What I found quite funny is that a lot of guys go, on my backup I'm going to take a Mark 23 that's heavily upgraded.
It's probably out of range your main
gun.
And
it's doing 500 foot per second on a .2, and essentially it's a sniper rifle.
Yeah, well, that's another, we'll talk about that another time, but so I think what we're trying to say, Gadge, is a DMR isn't necessarily a DMR in all cases, and if you're going to build one, be very particular about what site you're using,
what their rules are,
and what aspirations do you have for using that DMR in other games.
Because you could find it quite frustrating. I know a lot of players go for the sniper role and then they find themselves not able to get stuck in, having to switch to a secondary. Might not be for you, so maybe try a few games with a friend's DMR.
Yeah, good idea. Okay, thanks for watching. I've been Tom Anvil Hibberd.
I've been Gadge from ASG.
Thanks for popping by.
Please
like, subscribe, ding that bell, and we'll see you next time.